What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Brennan, and I'm BManX45, and today we're coming at you with another video. We're getting into our second deck profile of the BT11 format. We have Blue Flare, the updated Blue Flare for the BT11 format. I gave you Blue Flare late into the BT10 format. It was my first Cross Heart deck, and I really enjoyed that deck, and I wanted to keep playing it, at least for this format. I probably play it again in the future. I know it's getting support, I think, in EX4, so I might go back during that because I'm actually enjoying the Xros Mechanic more than I thought I would. But I definitely think that this is my kind of Xros Mechanic. I'm really not interested as much in the Cross Heart itself. But yeah, let's get into it. It's a really fun deck, and I find a hard time getting blue decks that I really enjoy. So this is something that I'm really happy with because I haven't had a blue deck that I was super happy about and really enjoyed since BT3 Imperial Tramon, the jamming Imperial Tramon. So yeah, no, and I never played Melga because I just don't have enjoyment with that deck or enjoy playing that deck. But yeah, let's start. So we have the new baby Wainamon, so much better than running Upamon, because all you have to do is, if you have a blue tamer when attacking, if you have a blue tamer in play, you draw one, which is a lot more consistent to get through. So you just play 4 of that because Upamon just doesn't come up as much. Yeah, and hey guys, remember, if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to drop a comment down below. Tell us what you like, what you think would like to see in future videos. We appreciate the support and the input. For your level 3s, we'll start out with Galesmon. Galesmon is really good. On deletion, you can play a level 4 Digimon card with Blue Flare and its traits from your hand, suspended without paying its memory cost. So this is how you get your Blue Flare abilities out without having to pay like 4, 5, or 6 cost, or 4 all the time and go into your opponent's turn. You start with him. If he comes up at the beginning of the game, you're doing well, because then you just put him on your baby, and then next turn you just attack, and you don't care. You don't care if he dies because you're not digivolving off of him. You just want him to die so you can play your bigger monsters and start doing your plays. We have this guy now, which actually is really good synergy for the deck. He is a Blue Flare name. He is a dragon and a Blue Flare name. So he's a Dracomon. So I mean, like, I know, like, you're gonna see him in my Examon profile when I get to green. But he's also a Blue Flare target. And when you would play another Digimon with Dramon in its name or Blue Flare in its traits, draw 1. So if you get him first and you bring him out, and then you play, you get your Greymon for 4, you get an extra memory, and he also has the inheritable. When you would play another Digimon with Dramon in its name or Blue Flare in its traits, gain 1 memory. So if you do decide to, if you potentially do decide to Digivolve into your Greymon, I mean, you get something from the inheritable. Although you're going to lose it if you cross with it. So that is what it is. And then you have 2 Sayakumon, basically just to block your opponent. Your opponent can't reduce Digivolution costs because this, because I mean the matchups and stuff like that. So it's just the 10 rookies. You don't play many rookies just because it's all about the big guys. We have the 4 Greymons. The Blue Flare Greymon, reveal top 4 on play and add 2 cards with Blue Flare and its traits among them to your hand. Place the rest on the bottom of your decks. If you have a Kiriha on the field, you can add 1 Metal Greymon from your trash to your hand. So it gets your Metal Greymons back because he's your OP guy. He's your best guy. He's the guy you want to see time and time again. And then inheritable, he lets you if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon, he lets you unsuspend when you attack with your Greymon or whatever monster you have on top, as long as the Digimon you have has Blue Flare in its traits. So this is where going into the Magnamon wasn't that good last format, because then you couldn't use any of your Blue Flare inheritables because they have to be. So it basically lets you attack with Metal Greymon twice in a turn. So that's really good. And then we have a 5th Greymon, Red Greymon, because, I mean, you can Digicross from your hand, and I've already told this in the first video, you can Digicross from your hand with this guy and then have security attack +1 with your rush. It's basically, and it's guaranteed, because he's not guaranteed. Your opponent has to have 2 or more Digimon, so they have to go wide, basically. You got to hope they go wide, and if they know what they're playing, they'll be like, nah, don't go wide, I just build 1 stack, right? But this guy says, whatever, I'm just going to security attack, check 2 checks. And, you never play him, but you can Digicross from hand, so that's always good. So that's a really cool part of it. For male Bergermons, he's your other combo piece for the Malgramon to reduce the cost. And they both have they both have on deletion save, so they can be saved under one of your tamers to reuse, which is the blue flare, which is the cross gimmick. Is you cross from hand and field, and then when they die, you save them behind in your tamer, and then you tap that tamer to use them as materials. So you're basically, it's almost like penduluming in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, oh, you think you've got rid of my resources? You have not. I have them here. I will use them again next turn, or this turn if I still have memory. So I mean, that's cool. Anyways, if you have Kiriha in play, your tamer, you can return 1 Malgramon for your trash your hand, same kind of thing. If you don't have a Kiriha in play, you can play a Kiriha when you on-play this card, and then it's got the save, of course, on deletion. And then lastly, its inheritable is, again, if you're attacking, the monster has blue flare in its traits, and your opponent has more than 2 or more monsters in play, one of your opponent's Digimon can attack or block until the end of your opponent's turn, which is really good because it can stun a big stack monster, because your Metal Greymon only stuns a monster that has the same or less materials as it, which it's always going to have 2, because these 2. So it's only going to have 2 Digivolution materials ever. So that's not always the greatest. Other level 4s, Decardramon, he on play, he draws, and then you draw for him. And then you draw for all the Digimon your opponent has. So if your opponent decides to go wide, you're drawing your deck, which is really great. So it's kind of like a Destiny draw for this deck, which is really cool. So that's it for the monsters, or the level 4s. We have 12. Level 5s, we have the Metal Greymon. Material save 2, so both your materials are going under a tamer when he dies. On play, he gains rush, so you're attacking right away, which is the whole point of this deck, is you get rush and then you just attack. So even though you're on playing monsters constantly, you're not losing your ability to attack that turn. If it's a Digicross, you can stun up to 3 of your opponent's Digimon with, like I said, less Digivolution materials than him, which is really good. And then the Digicross ability, -2. So if you use Greymon and male Bergermon, you can mine it for each one you use. You can when you Digicross, you can decrease the on-play cost by 2. So you can go from a 7 to a 3, or to a 5 if you only have one of them. So yeah, that's really good. He's your main part of the deck. You need to see him. That's the most important part. We play 2 Decker Greymon, which can either Digivolve for 2 from your level 5, or you can Digicross Metal Greymon and Decardramon if he's not as good. He does have Armor Purge, so the nice thing is that your Metal Greymon is now there after Decardramon dies. You have the Metal Greymon back, which is actually really cool. So it's better, actually, honestly, to Digivolve into him, and then after this guy's survived a turn, and then just kind of keep going that way. He has the Digicross 2 as well for Decardramon and Malgramon, so you can go from a cost 9 to a cost 5. And then when Digivolving or on play, you may place 1 Digimon card with blue flare and its traits from your hand, from under one of your tamers, from your hand, or from under one of your tamers under this Digimon as a spawn Digivolution card. Then if Decardramon is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, one of your opponent's Digimon can't attack or block until the end of your opponent. So just more stun. Just more and more stun, which is the part of this deck. It stuns and then just attacks you to death. It doesn't worry about your monsters. It's just going for your security and stunning your monsters so they can't come back at. And then we have the new guy, Metal Greymon Cyber Launcher from BT11, which is also a Digicross with Metal Greymon Cyber Dramon. We don't play any Cyber Dramon, so we're never going to be Digicrossing with him. I mean, you could for 6 with a Metal Greymon, but it's so much better to Digivolve into him for 2. He's a level 5. He has Armor Purge again, so he saves your Metal Greymon from dying. And then on play, when Digivolving, you may place 1 Digimon card with Blue Flare. It traits for hands under this Digimon. Same thing. Then you may return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to the bottom of the owner's deck. If Cyber Dramon is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, return one of your opponent's level 4 to the bottom of the deck. So you're never getting that ability off. And then it has Digicross -2. So the same thing. They don't have material save. So these guys don't material save at all. So they don't get you your guys. But because they have Armor Purge, you're always going to this guy, which will then save you your materials. So it's better to go into him and then go into these guys. Last for level 5s, and I know it's like, holy crap, level 5s. 10 level 5s, Metal Greymon X Antibody. He's a 0-cost Digivolution. He gets you a draw. He gets you Security Attack +1 when Digivolving. So it can be really good. Then if this Digimon has Metal Greymon and then when it's after Digivolves, if you have Metal Greymon or X Antibody in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, which we don't play X Antibody, so it's just going to be the Metal Greymon, which is the whole point of playing this. The Digimon gets 3,000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. So if this guy survives a turn and you have this guy, you can go into him. You get the Security Attack plus. You lose your Blue Flare abilities, but you also get 3,000 DP, because the thing with this guy is he dies a lot. So if you get that 3,000 extra DP, because he's only 8,000, he's 11,000, the chance of him surviving is a lot higher. So that is our level 5s. Our level 6s, we have Z Greymon. He replaces the Magnamon pretty much that we were running. Digivolve 2 from Metal Greymon. When Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon. Then if a card with Blue Flare or Crossheart is in the traits of this Digimon's Digivolution cards, and your opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play, gain 2 memory, so it's a free Digivolution if your opponent has gone wide. On deletion save, you may place card under your Tamers, and then place so you may place this card under one of your Tamers, then place 1 Greymon and 1 male Bergermon from your trash under one of your Tamers with General in its traits, which is really, really cool. And then he even has an inheritable. While this Digimon has Blue Flare in its traits, it gains Blocker. Which is never going to come up. Never going to come up. And then lastly, we play 1 Death Axemon just there for if your opponent goes wide, just to be able to counter him. So that's pretty standard. Now we have our Tamer lineup. We have the 4 Kiriha, which is not Christopher, because in the English it was Christopher, and it is on the Blazing Memory Boost, but everywhere else it's Kiriha on all the other Blue Flare cards. He's your memory setter, and when you would play a Digimon with a Digicross requirements, by spending this Tamer, you may place the cards from under your Tamer as Digivolution cards for the Digicross. We play 1 of the new Taiki Kiriha Nene, which is another 4-cost. Start of the main phase by placing 1 Digimon card with Crossheart or Blue Flare in its traits from your hand under this Tamer. Gain 1 memory, draw 1. So it's kind of like a Cool Boy for Cross, but not as good. But it still gets you that gain a memory, draw 1 if you play it. So I think it's worth playing 1. When you would play a Digimon card with Digicross and its requirement by spending this Tamer, you may use cards basically. So you can start stacking cards under it that aren't dead every turn to gain memory and draw. So it is good in that aspect. And we play 2 Sora Joe, which if your opponent has a Digimon with no Digivolution cards, you can gain 2 memory at the start of your turn. And then when you attack with your monsters, you can strip 2 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon. So that's really, really good. I really like that. That's really strong. Playing 1 Yuga Kuga because you have Greymon names. So if you Digivolve into a Greymon, or into Z Greymon, you get that protection, and you get that DP boost. So I like it. It's not necessary, but it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool card. So this is another deck that I would play in the Ulti Cup format. Definitely play this in the but I'd be obviously taking out the red cards, the Death X, the Yuga. I'd be leaving the Sora Joes. They're really great. I'd be playing more things like Hammer Spark. I'm not playing Hammer Spark right now because I feel like I don't need Hammer Spark. I'm probably playing more Memory Boosts and playing more of these guys. I definitely these. I'm just going to be playing another Cyber Launcher and another Decker Greymon. It's just when I'm not playing the Ulti Cup format, this is just more consistent, gives me more options because Decker and Cyber Launcher aren't that great. The Armor Purge is probably their best feature, and the cheap Digivolution. So that's pretty much it. So that's Tamers. And then we have our Memory Boost cards. We have Blazing Memory Boost, which is high cost, 5, but you reveal 6. You add 2 Blue Flare cards to your cards with Blue Flare in their traits to your hand, and then if you have a Kiriha in them, you can play the Kiriha, which says Christopher on here, but it's, yeah, that's the typo. And then Delay, gain 2 memory. Note, however, you cannot choose to only add 1 to your hand if you only draw 1 Blue Flare and 1 Kiriha. Highly unlikely to happen with all the new Blue Flare names we have, thanks to Dracomon. It's, this has Blue Flare. Friggin' Kiriha has Blue Flare, and it also has General. So you talked about the General keyword. So him and the Nene and Taiki card all have General in them. So there's four in your deck that you can use. But yeah, so you have to have 2 targets for the first part and then play the Kiriha. If you only have Kiriha and 1 other target, you have to add those to your hand, and then you can't play the Kiriha for free. So that is the one downside of that, but it's highly unlikely. Playing 2 Sorai from EX3, which trashes the top 4 Digivolution cards of your opponent, which is actually really cool because usually your level 5s and your level 4s have better inheritables than your lower level monsters. So that's actually really cool. Gets rid of that stuff. And then until the end of your opponent's turn, your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution sources can attack. So that's really cool. And it activates its main effect when it gets securityed. And then the Ice Wall, because Ice Wall wins games. It stops your opponent from winning games so that you can come back. So that's really good. So other, like I said, changes I would make. I'd play some Hammer Sparks. Thinking about it right now, the Tamers, taking out, the 2 Tamers, take out those for more level 5s, take out those for Hammer Sparks, and then there's just a few other monster changes that I would make, and then you have yourself a really good Ulti Cup deck. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you guys have any ideas for Ulti Cup deck versions of this, or if you have any other ideas of how to make the regionals style deck better, let me know. Looks like that's all the time we have for this video. If you enjoyed today's content, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a single minute of the fun. That's all for now, folks.